Welcome back, art heads. It's James Kalm, your half-assed reporter, the guy on the bike. Special shout out to our friends in Rostov, Romania, Kitbul, Austria, Boca Raton. We're gonna go in here to LEHMANN MAUPIN and try to get some pictures of an Ashley Bickerton show. Stay tuned. Okay, thank you. All right. So the title of the show is Seascapes at the End of History. Okay, it's probably about 10 minutes before closing time. We'll make our sweep of the installation. We'll start out with this wall text. I recommend that you just pause your computer and you can read that. Well, okay, I probably got about 15 minutes. I was cruising over here from Brooklyn and it was just drizzling a little bit, and now it's kind of pouring out there. It's titled Floating Ocean Chunk, South Pacific for North Atlantic, 2021, resin, stainless steel, rope, carabiners. Well, just from the quick stroll through, I would say that this is a much more sculptural show than the last show that I saw of Ashley's. And, well, I think that's interesting, but it also kind of maybe says something about his thinking about where he's at and what he wants to present. Okay, so I guess this one is 21 degrees, 20.06. So I guess these are latitude and longitudes. Maybe. 2022, resin, fiberglass, stainless steel, wood. Okay, so, yeah, in a certain way, this is very minimal. We're dealing with a cube hanging on a wall, but then Ashley has gone in and is dealing with his presentation of nature and water and the ocean, and I guess getting back to his wall text, there's a certain kind of perpetual development, destruction, nature eating what is happening, and we are kind of suffering from hubris if we think we can get away with thinking we're running the show. This is titled River Vector White 2021, Oceanic Flotsam and Beach Dietrich, stainless steel, etched glass, rubber, fiberglass textiles, and plywood. Okay, so, yeah, we've got a bunch of plastic stuff that has been pulled out. I wonder if there are websites that you can go to buy your beach Dietrich, the garbage that's washed up. I was also thinking that some of the attachments, the sewn and clipped on sections make me think of something you would see on a life raft, you know, they could inflate when the plane crashes into the water. This is another one of the, I guess, longitude, latitudinal pieces. This is 1 degree, 34, 32.4 north, 172 degree, 55.383 east, number 1. This actually kind of makes me think of the, he was the Boyle family. He's an artist, I think he was a British artist, and he and his family would take out a, maybe it was a globe of the world, map of the world, and they would pinpoint specific areas, and then they would go there and find the spot that they had pinpointed, and then they would make casts of whatever they found there, like a square meter of the surface of the earth. It's kind of like what Ashley's doing, I guess. Mangrove footprints. Resin and Corten steel, 68 by 48. Well, I kind of like this one because it gets away from the polished surfaces. This is nice and rusted Corten, and even the footprints look like they're kind of on the verge of washing away. Maybe this layer of resin they're under would represent some kind of couple of inches of water that these were found in. We're going to run down the wall and we'll look at a series of these pieces. Okay, I'm not going to give you the longitudinal latitudes. We'll just look at these. I kind of like the way that this one goes from very narrow field into depth as you go back. Well, I started seeing Ashley's work probably in the mid-'80s. We're going to go over to O'Flaherty's project over in Alphabet City and look at kind of a little mini retrospective of his work, which is interesting because O'Flaherty's is probably about maybe 5 or 6 blocks away from International Width Monument, where Ashley and Peter Haley and Meyer Weissman and, oh yeah, that other guy, Jeff Koons, where they got their start. And, well, I was kind of involved in the East Village scene, although I was hanging out at the other end. I was up at the Fun Gallery, and I was spending a little time hanging out with Patty Astor. These pieces are a little bigger. I would say that they're 18 by 18 and 10 inches deep. There are some very just nice coloristic things that are happening. Anyway, so I always kind of considered Ashley and the International Width Monument crowd, and maybe some artists that were showing at a place called Nature Mort that was maybe a block and a half away from the Fun Gallery, is kind of the second wave of the East Village scene. So this is titled Hanging Ocean Chunk. to be dragged up cliff faces, strung across ravines, and suspended from the forest canopy. 2022, okay. Oh, okay. I was wondering what was happening with all these carabiners and the cables and stuff, the cords. So maybe Ashley is going up in the top of the canopies on the little belay lines and studying ecology. We got our international flags. So I'm hanging out at the Fun Gallery, and the Fun is promoting artists like Jean-Michel Basquiat, Keith Haring, and some of the neo-expressionist people. Ashley is over with the Fantastic Four at International Width Monument. I believe it was 1987 that Ilyana Sonabin kind of swooped in, picked up the Four Horsemen, the Fabulous Four, and took them to Soho and sort of legitimized the East Village scene in a way. Well, maybe he actually does some rock climbing too. Got our little carabiners and crack wedges. It's kind of the opposite end of deep sea diving. You're up climbing mountains or climbing up to the top of a giant redwood maybe. I was saying before that I thought that some of this makes me think of Frank Stella and his use of a lot of exotic, beautifully cast and produced fittings for yachts and race boats. Okay, the little black parts of these, the cutaway views of the earth are interesting, opposed to the translucence of the blue. It's titled River Vector Big White 2022. Oceanic flotsam and beach diatrist, stainless steel, etched glass, rubber, brushed aluminum, and plywood. Well, last week I went down and saw his show at O'Flaherty's, which had some pieces from the 90s, the aughts, the early teens. A lot of them had large wooden carved and tooled frames with inlays, and in this case this big, it's like white plastic frame is a similar device, but then we've got the fabric thing with the little clips and the belts. Also, this is kind of interesting. I mean, this relates to work by Duchamp in that we've got a glass, but then we've got the mirror behind the glass, and so you can see the initial etched glass going through the beach diatrice and then reflecting again, so you get the illusion that this piece is actually twice as thick as it actually is. Okay, let's see what we've got. Somebody's little sandal. Oh, you know what? I expect people to be seeing millions of those plastic toothpick dental floss things. Those are going to be the grand, and masks. You'll see thousands and thousands of mountains of masks all over the place. There could be some just paint splattered in there too. Okay, more of the latitude, longitudinal chunks. Actually, I like the way that those two pieces relate to each other. Yeah, this is a big piece. This is 72 by 24 by 16 and 3/4. Susie. River Vector, Interior Transport Module 1, 2021. This is 59 and 1/3 by 68. Okay, so in a certain way, this relates a lot to the early Bickertons that I remember seeing. Oh, I like the idea that we've got the little safety latches we can pop open. Susie. A lot of these boxes kind of make me think of the kind of things that emergency medical teams would build or have constructed. You could put your defibrillators inside there. And also, this kind of relates to what Damien Hirst has been doing for years, and that goes back to people like Paul Thek, wonderful artist that kind of dropped out of the scene and became a hippie in Europe for about 10 years, and everybody forgot about him. So, okay, we'll just take a little inventory. Okay, we got plastic spoons, bad breath modules, Bic gliders, plastic forks, cap lids. There's something nice about these kind of sun-bleached colors. Looks like some of it has fallen off. That's the nature of the piece, I guess. Okay. This is 37 degrees, 26 inches, 44, 88 north, 26, 1236, 6 east, 2020. Yeah, as I was thinking about the chemicals and the plastic things and all the resins and vats of extremely toxic chemicals that it would take to produce these things. And well, this piece kind of makes me think of some of Dustin Yellen's early work, but even he decided to get away from the plastics because it was too toxic. Okay, I guess this is the most recent piece in the show. This is titled Floating Family Footprints, Flow Tide 1, 2022, resin, fiberglass, stainless steel, wood, and sea sand. I kind of like the color things that Ashley's doing here. It makes these read a little differently. So I think that Ashley's sculptural sense of volumes, I mean, in certain ways there's a very formalistic and minimal aspect to it with the cylinders, the cubes. And then he adds his own little, I guess what I would say is a Neo-Geo Gauguin version of contemporary sculpture to that. This is 65 by 92. I also think if Ashley wouldn't have decided not to be an artist, he could have gone into the custom car business. It's got a great sense of finish, the materials, a feel for the metal, the shine. So this has been James Kalm reporting on Ashley Bickerton. Seascapes at the end of history at LEHMANN MAUPIN here in Chelsea.
Homeless men, back to back, public health, right? They care about our health, right? They don't care. They don't care.
We are back in Alphabet City near the Lower East Side. We actually came by here the other day, 12:30s, and we're gonna come back and look at a show without the crowds. Well, we came by here last week and it was a mob scene, so I wanted to come back and take another look at this Ashley Bickerton show. Do we have a press release for this?
We just ran out, but I think we may have one somewhere.
I would appreciate it, thank you. This is titled MDNA I4 2013 acrylic and oil on digitally printed canvas on fiberglass. Well, I believe I saw the shows that this kind of work was in. I believe it was LEHMANN MAUPIN when they were over on Christie Street. And he refers to MDNA Eve, and I guess that was during the time that they had discovered that most of the women, I think it was in Europe, had descended from about 4 or 5 DNA lines, so that there was basically 4 grandmothers, or maybe a half dozen grandmothers, for all the female genetics in Europe. Okay, we'll splice in some views from the opening, and you'll get an idea of why I had to come back to get a clear view of these pieces. This is Joan and the Cosmos, 1996, oil acrylic and graphite on wood. Okay, so here Ashley has just left the bare wood as the background. Well, I was going to say that I think Ashley has always been a master technician. Yeah, I guess the curtains don't match the carpeting. And I know that he has worked in his younger days, that he worked for some other artists. I think Pat Steer and maybe even Jack Goldstein, one of the Pictures Generation people. This is Untitled 2011, oil and acrylic on digital print on canvas, wood with plastic. Yeah, there was such a mob scene here last week that I could only get about 3 feet away from here, and everybody was yakking and drinking. Okay, so yeah, these pieces have, that's inlaid mother of pearl in there. And there were aspects of these kind of bizarre South Pacific scenes, narratives that I'm guessing must be some kind of autobiographical story. And yes. Frames are massive. I would say that if that's solid wood, that probably weighs about, I don't know, 40 pounds. This is TIT NW1. 2010-2011, acrylic, digital print, and plastic laminate on wood. Well, if you've been watching Ashley's work for the last 35 years, you would know that he started out making, well, what almost look like boxes, and using a lot of these kinds of almost corporate logos. And I guess that a lot of them were referring to products that he used in his day-to-day life. This is 64 by 77. Anyway, these set-in pieces are kind of interesting, and I know that Ashley was a surfer, so in certain ways a lot of this kind of makes me think of some of the things that you would see in the surf shops. I haven't been to Hawaii, but I get to hang out in Southern California on occasion, and I don't surf, but I like surf music, and I go and stick my head in at some of the surf shops just to oogle the cultural artifacts there. This is titled Neon Bar, 2010-2011, acrylic digital print and plastic laminate on wood. Okay, well, I wonder how much of this, or how much time Ashley spends in Photoshop cutting and editing these images. Probably a lot. You've got like several layers of process that you've got to go through. Take the photos. Red Scooter and Nocturne, 2010-2011. Okay, so I'm looking at his frames and actually noting that these are they're tinted with a purple instead of just dark brown. Boards by Bickerton. Yeah. Wonder where he found the big guy. I was also thinking that some of these characters, almost look like some kind of a genie. The colored creatures make me think of the filmmaker. I can't think of his name now, but he did some of the strange science fiction and Sinbad the Sailor movies back in the late 50s, early 60s. And also, there is some interesting visual things that happens with the holes in the picture plane. Seascape Floating Ocean Chunk Number 1, 2017. Oil fiberglass enamel, aluminum resin, and plywood, 57 by 74. Well, I think this is probably a very good example of Ashley's more sculptural pieces. And I will be the first one to admit that I've had some questions, some critical things that I was thinking about his work over the years. One of them is that a piece like this obviously is referencing nature. You could even call it some kind of environmental sculpture. And the strange irony or dichotomy of that is for him to make this, he's actually using some of the I'm looking at this plastic and stuff and thinking that's got to be made out of some of the nastiest chemicals and resins and toxic things that anybody could ever imagine working with. But as it sits here in the gallery, it does refer to nature, the ocean, the tides, coral, life. I think this is the oldest piece in the show. This is titled Piece Without a Center. So this is 1990. Oil on canvas, chrome-plated steel, wood, rope, plastic, pulleys, nylon, and water. Okay, so apparently this is a hand-painted backdrop on a tarp. Makes me think of a rigging for the backstage of a theater where you'd have props and scrims and things that would go up and down. Oh gosh, we're gonna get to check out the cool people room and a couple of smaller pieces here. Oil acrylic, enamel, metal flake, and resin on plywood with aluminum. Okay, I may be wrong, but I think that some of this is referencing Peter Haley and some of his pieces he was doing a few years ago with the kind of the field stone pieces. I have no idea how long we spent floating in the black mud bubble. Koo and I entered and left together, but others came and went. We all seemed to blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we got some text and poetry. Oh, whoa. It's like, okay, yes. Transparent plastic. Doodle, number 2, 2002, ink, graphite, and acrylic on paper in carved wood frame. Well, I've never seen one of Ashley's work on paper before. As I was saying, he's a great technician. He's got a wonderful touch, and he's very articulate and can get down there and do some nice detail work. But it's always nice to see just the spontaneous flow of consciousness, drawing and scribbling and working. I guess that was it for the cool kids room. So that was the redo of Ashley Bickerton, A Remote Summer of Their Own, here at O'Flaherty's in Alphabet City. You can like this, subscribe, hook it up to all your social media sites, and you can leave your thoughts, ideas, comments, criticisms, reviews, and suggestions below. We just ask you to say, thank you, Kate. Whoa, thank you.
Thank you.
COVID Sky.